What if the first period of every school is meditation? Starting from that stillness that you actually never notice, and you lose that stillness and you get busy with all the activities, learning. Noticing that stillness is very important, because unless and until you notice the stillness which is already present, you will never slow down. Because children, the kids, the schooling system, the parents at home, nobody actually encourages that kind of stillness, that pause. It's like car running all the time, never gets chance to actually rest. What will happen to the engine? What will happen to the car? What will happen to the tires? Just like on the racing track, you can see that car crashes, the tire just blow up, very high speed. That's how the same process that you are using to learn, to educate, to work in this world, if cannot be assessed, looked at, the children will not learn how to slow down and not to perform, not as a spiritual practice, but as a fundamental education, so that they can also run when they want to run, they can function with their mind, and they also know how to be still. Then life is lived differently, effortlessly. Not teaching children what to think, but allowing them to observe thinking, sitting quietly, not to suppress the mind, but to see it, not to control it. Notice it. To notice how a thought appears, how it lingers, how it fades. To notice the urge to move, the discomfort of stillness, the impulse to reach for stimulation. Not correcting it, not judging it, simply seeing it. Because if a child is never shown how the mind moves, they grow up believing they are the movement. And a mind that is never observed cannot understand itself, because this very idea that when the question comes who you are requires a thought, requires memory, and from that memory, with that thought process, what you have memorized about yourself, the answer comes. I am Sam, I am Timmy, I am so and so. My religion is this, my race is this, I was born this way. This is how it functions, but the children has never been shown that what they were told, how the information they have about themselves was given to them, and with that same information they answer and they know about themselves. And a mind that is never observed cannot understand itself, cannot understand actual reality, what it is beyond the information, beyond what it has learned about itself, what is there, here, before it loses itself into the thought. So it runs, it compares, it competes, it defends. And some, unable to reach what they are conditioned to want, break rules, harm others, or take by force what they believe will complete them. The surface behaviors look different, the root movement is the same. A restless mind that has never been taught how to notice stillness. Education is essential. Without it, bridges cannot be built, medicine cannot be practiced, silence cannot be understood, communication cannot function. Learning skills matter, creating tools matter, livelihood matters, but if achievement alone is taught and stillness is never introduced, intelligence develops without balance. When basic needs are met, there must also be rest. Without rest, competition intensifies. When competition becomes a habit, division follows. Higher buildings rise, wider highways expand, larger economies grow, yet internally there is noise, comparison, anxiety, maintenance, pressure. More structure outside, more clutter inside. If meditation, simple mental stillness, becomes foundation in education, teachers would learn to pause, principals would learn to pause, children would learn to pause, not as an escape, not as ideology, but as hygiene for the mind. This cannot be imposed by one person, one idea. It requires shared understanding, especially from those who shape system. Just like everybody knows the safety of these highways, that's why there is speed limits, because even the one who is implementing those speed limits know that I have to travel on this road, and even if I drive carefully, there is no speed signs. Maybe someone else can hurt my family, which is sitting at the back. So they know the importance, danger about it. That's why the universal law is placed on highways, on roads for everyone's safety. This is how those in power, like in the way the society works, they don't understand how important it is. This cannot be implemented just like this. This cannot be imposed by one person. It requires shared understanding, especially from those who shape systems. Power in societal structure carries responsibility. If leadership competes only for position but neglects collective well being, instability spreads. If one house is protected while the neighborhood burns, eventually the fire reaches every door. Children may grow up in comfort, but they walk in public spaces, travel on shared roads, live in shared society. Neglect anywhere creates consequences everywhere. Just like even those who have everything, their child have everything that a poor person wants. They have a good home, but when they go into the society, that share field, they are in danger because those other that are neglected want the same. So unless and until this is clear that everyone needs to be treated equally, the imbalance always going to be there. And those who actually desire but unfortunately have no resources, everything has been taken from them, or they have no resources, they have been kept that way for slavery or whatever reason it is, they will want to do things forcefully and they will not care. That is the root cause of all the problems in this world. And unless and until the root cause is seen for what it is, the problem will continue. It's like a nail, a tip of nail is embedded deep in your arm. You cannot see, but there is pain, there is pus, and you applying a cream on the top. The cream will not fix the wound. The pus will keep coming because there is something deep inside. Unless that is seen, unless that is where the attention is, then it is taken out, clear the wound, then you don't have to apply cream again and again. Neglect anywhere creates consequences everywhere. Wealth alone does not solve disorder. Without understanding the restless root of desire, more resources simply amplify the same imbalance. This is not an attack on current education, it is called to complete it. Teach how to think and teach how to stop thinking. Teach how to build and teach how to be still. A system cannot change if those guiding it are themselves restless. If leadership seeks only more for self, how can harmony emerge? Real reform begins when the mind sees its own movement clearly, when rest becomes as valued as achievement. Until then, process will continue outward, but disorder will continue inward. What is not resolved inward always returns outward. But if understanding the mind becomes as fundamental as any subject, as necessary as mathematics, as practical as language, as valued as trade, the result would be different. When children grow up having learned stillness as naturally as mathematics, as language, as trade, they do not only carry skills into adulthood, they carry balance. They know how to build and they know how to pause. They know how to strive and they know when striving is unnecessary. Then parents would not need to be told to slow down, they would have learnt it long before. Those children, when become parents, they would already learnt early, and then they can guide their kids. Then parents would not need to be told to show how to slow down, they would have learnt it long before. Stillness would not be a retreat, it would be ordinary, everywhere, and a part of life. Not something discovered after burnout, not something sought after crisis, simply part of growing up. When the mind understands its own movement, unnecessary conflict fades. Effort remains where it is needed, struggle fades where it is not, and life, without losing its responsibility, becomes lighter. Not because problems disappear, but because the mind is no longer fighting itself. It is very important to also know what is meditation. Not the clothes that you wear, not the posture you sit in, not the techniques, because when you actually use those techniques, the same thoughts multiply. They are actually used to do something. Meditation is not doing, it is seeing how the mind wants to do. And if you start doing, start following a pattern, start following someone, then that is not meditation. It is not like how you see the world, how you feel with your senses, how you taste food, how you feel the air on your skin. It is seeing it internally. But that cannot happen till the mind is still enough. And that stillness cannot arise if there is always education, always learning more, always doing more, always activity, always swimming to come first. My child knows these many instruments. My child comes first. That is not helping children. That is teaching them to always compete. And competition is like that car always driving in the race course. It will burn out. That's why on the surface, even those who has everything commit suicide. Because it's not something that you can see in others' mind how they feel. They might come across, they are happy, they have everything. Does not mean that the mind is rest, there is peace naturally. So things that you are actually making your kids to achieve, the same achievements sometime becomes their enemies. But if they are taught to see how that happens, to be still enough, then they can also achieve, but they also know when to stop. There is natural stillness in their life. They are shown very early. But they have been taught, and it is very normal, the attention is always outward. Movies, shows, TVs, activities, there is always something to do. They have never shown that how to be still, and the stillness does not come automatically because stillness is already present. You don't create stillness. Stillness cannot be created by those wise men, they are long gone. They don't create stillness. By you clinging to those wise men, your mind is busy again to the idea of a wisdom, then you are busy again. Stillness is always present, does not matter now, does not matter 2000 years ago. Peace was available, now it is available, and it will be available forever. Just notice even now the stillness is there, here. But what actually changes that stillness, your experience is not in stillness, is because there is constant thoughts and you are actually lost in thoughts, you are lost in that movement. And when meditation is introduced as meditation, then the children are not just sitting like this or like this, or they are just taken photos and sent to the parents that today was a meditation day. That is not meditation, that is actually performance. And does not matter if this idea comes, how can they learn? They are little. They don't learn mathematics, which is very complicated. They don't understand English, which is very complicated to a mind which does not know. That's why they fail, they struggle. But you over and over tell them, no, this way. You tell them division, very different ways. Teacher have techniques. So in meditation, there is no technique. It is not doing something. Only one thing needs to be shown to the kids, how to be still. But if you are not still, then how they will know? Because it is not something that you teach. Just like if a child is doing something wrong, your attention is on the child actually misbehaving, and then you become hyped up and correct that child. Child learns that behavior and gets really irritated. And that sparks, a little spark now sparks the fire. But now imagine he's doing something wrong, not actually what is hurting him, but maybe he's misbehaving. He's on the floor laying down and bashing something like toy or something, and you simply observe him. You're not stopping him unless there is a danger. Sometimes they are accidentally conditioned for attention, and that's how they get attention. But if you simply remain still, you will see a very different behavior from the child. Because now what is happening is you're showing that how not to be affected by attention correcting others. And there is possibility that the child will pick up sooner or later that he also fights like this. Someone actually does something wrong, he does not like it, and he punches that child, and then the problem becomes big. They punch, and then later on when they become adult, they get weapons, and then more damage is done. Because their attention is on how other is behaving. When the attention is attending itself, not worrying about how others are behaving, the change cannot be described, can be only experienced. A very effortless life, peaceful life, harmonious life, complete harmony. That's why it is important to also include a true meditation into educational system. And teachers need to be also made aware of what understanding is. Because if the teachers are in that room and they don't know what meditation is, then something completely different will be taught to the kids. Then there is a possibility of harmony, not for just your family, but for everyone. There is equality, because everyone is life itself. They have the same way of communicating. There is same inner light that functions through them. But then, because of the conditioning, there is separation. And when that is seen for what it is, then there is equality. Then there is knowledge of what is that same within all. Not the appearance, but there is something beyond it. Then that is a true help to the next generation, not just leaving big buildings behind so they can maintain it, but showing them how to live an effortless life. That journey which is called life should be just effortless.